What's up, YouTube? This is Jonathan again. I wanted to do a video today about 5 things I don't like about my current Outback, because overall, I really do like this car quite a bit. It's functional, it's capable, it's fuel efficient, it's roomy, it's comfortable. There's a lot of positives, but there are some things, little things mostly, that I do not like about this vehicle that you should consider if you are in the market for a Subaru, in particular, an Outback. So I'm going to go through 5 things that little annoyances that I do not like about this vehicle. Okay, so I'm going to start up the car here. And the first thing I don't like is that even though this screen has been updated, it's still a little bit laggy, as you can see. I'm still waiting. Okay, there it is. I agree. And then it's just, when you tap, you can see it's not really an instant, there's not an instant connection between you and your touching. If you're used to a cell phone, this is quite a bit laggier. See that? Like, if I tap the heated seat button and then try to tap it again, it's just a little slow. It's a little slow to pull up things like XM. So you have tapped XM, tap it again. There it goes. See, now it's loading. It just loads slowly. It feels like the software in this, even though they've updated it with the climate controls down here, which are much snappier than they used to be, it still feels like the software is just, 5 years behind. Especially what they're putting now in, like, the most modern Toyotas. GM, I've been in new GM vehicles where their touchscreen is very snappy. This one is just, it's just a little slow to respond. There's a delay there. And problem is, if you start the car in the cold and you want your heated seat on like immediately, sometimes this takes quite a second to kick in, and to get the climate control going. So you're kind of just sitting there in the cold for a second. This part of it is quicker than it used to be as far as like response goes. But it's still, there's just not, you want that, that instant connection between you and the screen, like you get on a cell phone, and it's just not quite there with this screen. Another thing with the screen, and this is kind of more of a subjective issue, but I've seen other people share this sentiment. It just kind of looks, it's nice because it's big, and if people get in the car and they say, oh wow, that's like a big screen, and it's well integrated into the dashboard. I like how it's not sticking up here. It doesn't look like a tablet that's been kind of just like slapped on the dash, or I don't like the screens that just stick out and look like an afterthought. It is well kind of like designed into the dashboard, but the look of the actual software, it just looks a little childlike. The fonts are a little childlike. It kind of looks like if you bought an iPad for a kid, or like a, I don't know, like a Kindle, or like a children's tablet that has like games on it and stuff. It just kind of looks like that. Or if like BlackBerry ever did a tablet, it's kind of just goofy. Like the icons are big and goofy. The fonts aren't all in the same size. They try to fit too much stuff, I think, onto certain squares. And the resolution's not excellent. But if you go into Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, it looks a lot better. You get this big full screen there with like a 3D Google Map image. So Android Auto looks good. There's the home screen, Android Auto. There's my dog. So yeah, Android Auto looks good. Looks like a phone. But then if you go back to just like the Subaru system, it just, I don't know, it just looks a little bit old. But again, that's just kind of a subjective thing. Okay, thing number 2 I don't like about this car is this heated steering wheel. The heated steering wheel works great. It gets hot, it heats the whole wheel. But the little light on it is not bright enough. And it hasn't been bright enough for like 3 years, and I don't know why they just don't make it brighter. But you can see it, but if you're wearing polarized sunglasses, it kind of disappears. See? So like if you start the car, it's a minor annoyance, but if you start the car, the sun's in your eyes, the sun's shining through the dashboard, and you have polarized sunglasses on, you can feel the wheel, but if you want to turn it off, it's a little difficult sometimes to determine whether or not it's even on in the first place. So I wish Subaru would just make this little light brighter. I don't know why they don't do that. But again, the wheel works great. It's just this little light. It looks pretty bright in this video, but in real life, it's just not bright enough. Come on, Subaru. All right. Issue number 3 is just overall a lack of storage in the center console area here, especially if this one has the optional wireless phone charger. There's a cubby here that is pretty deep if you don't have this, but if you get the Qi wireless phone charger, it takes up this cubby, so you lose this storage space here. I mean, you can put like cards in there if you want to, or maybe hold something right here, but it kind of takes up the storage space. And besides that, you have 2 cup holders and a tray here, a center console that's pretty deep, and then it has a secondary tray up top. But other than that, there's a little pocket here for the passenger to put things. There's a tiny little pocket on the side here for maybe a wallet or some cards or pens or napkins or something for the passenger. There's a door handle pocket here that is covered, so nothing will fall through there. And then you have a mat pocket on either side that is pretty small, and it doesn't hold the biggest water bottle. So if you have a Nalgene or something like that, like I have a pretty big metal water bottle that doesn't fit in here, and it also doesn't fit in these cup holders, so I have to just hold it like off to the side on here and just kind of rest it here. So the lack of storage space in the interior, the lack of cubbies is kind of an issue. I just wish that there was some storage here. Like this, I know Subaru is just dedicated to this you know, tried and true shifter here, but I kind of wish that this was electronic. They could do an electronic shifter here, like Honda's doing. I know people don't like those sometimes, but it would free up space right here for, you know, a storage option, because this just seems like a big, kind of a waste of space. And then that brings me to the next complaint, which is this wireless phone charger. So this is an option that Subaru puts on some vehicles just from the port. So sometimes a car will come in and you will have this option on the vehicle. It's also an accessory that you can add to the vehicle if it doesn't have it, and you can get this on the current Ascent and the Outback as an accessory. It comes standard now on upper trim levels and the Wilderness versions of the Crosstrek, and then it comes standard on the Impreza RS, and I believe optional on the Impreza Sport. But the issue I have with it, and I'm not sure about the Crosstreks and stuff because that's a different one, but at least this accessory wireless phone charger, it doesn't really work. Like, I still have a USB here to plug in my phone, because unless my phone is either off or does not have Wi-Fi on, or if I turn basically everything off and like put my phone in airplane mode, then yes, this will charge the phone. If I'm running wireless Android Auto through the screen and I put my phone here to charge, this little light, which is white right now, will turn blue to say it's charging, and then after about 5 minutes it turns orange and the charging shuts off because your phone starts to overheat. And I've read this about Androids, I've read it about iPhones. It will start to overheat your phone and then it shuts itself off. So it'll charge your phone. I mean, I've had this thing on this charger for an hour before and it's charged my phone maybe 10%. So I still, even though I have wireless Android Auto now, I still plug my phone in when I'm in the car, because this charges the phone much quicker. So having the wireless charger sounds like a good idea if you have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but you know, it sounds like a good idea in theory, but the reality is you can't charge your phone in this vehicle pretty much at all. If you're running, you can't charge your phone in this vehicle wirelessly pretty much at all if you're using wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So then you have to plug your phone in anyway. So it's nice because if you unplug the phone for whatever reason in the car, if it's charged up, it'll still run the wireless. So I still really like the wireless Android Auto because it works great, it works every time, but you can't really charge your phone and be doing that at the same time. So I'd rather have the storage cubby here. Also, this is not wide enough for like the most, you know, the most recent versions of, say, a Galaxy or an iPhone. I don't think it's tall enough either for an iPhone, like it's not thick enough. So this phone fits in it just fine, but this is a Galaxy S10. So I'm, 5 Galaxies behind. But if you have a newer phone, I don't think it's going to fit in here. So this is something that this was already on this car when I bought it, but I would never add it as an accessory. I would just have the storage cubby here and continue plugging my phone in. The good old, way that works every time. And that brings me to, you can see my reflection, that brings me to my last complaint, which is the dreaded auto start stop system in this vehicle. If you've done any research on these cars online, if you've been on any forums, Outback fan clubs, Facebook, what have you, you probably read about the auto start stop in this car. And the reason you've read about it is because it is pretty bad. When I first got this car, I thought it was kind of cool. Oh, it shuts itself off at red lights, you're saving gas, it's kind of cool to be sitting silently at a red light. But the reality is, first of all, in order to save 1 gallon of fuel, you're probably going to have to use the auto start stop every time you drive for about a month. So the fuel savings are not there at all. And the second thing is, it's just herky-jerky. If I turn it off here, the little light comes on right there in the dashboard that says that it's off. The reality of it is that it's just, I don't know if it's the design of this engine. I think it's because of the way, when Subarus fire up, the engine's horizontal, so there's a little bit of a shimmy from side to side when they start, which is normal. But because of that, when this car auto start stops, when you let off the throttle or off the brake at a red light and it re-engages the engine, you feel a little kind of jerk from side to side, and it's not instant. Like when you take your foot off the brake and hit the gas at a red light or at a stop sign, when this is engaged, you can take your foot off the brake and hit the gas, and that you can do that quicker than the car actually starts the engine. So there's a delay, like kind of a noticeable delay as the engine is kicking in, when you're trying to start going. And there's times where it gets confused. There's times where it kind of feels like you've almost been like kind of tapped from behind. It's not, I've been in cars before that have auto start stop systems, particularly in like 6-cylinder engines and 8-cylinder engines, where it's just, you don't even notice that anything's happening and it's quick. And in this car, it's like, everyone else is doing it, we have to do this. It's almost like Subaru was forced to put these in their vehicles, because it's just not good. It's actually kind of annoying. So another issue with it is that you have to turn it off every time that you start the car. Fortunately, this little icon here used to be buried within this vehicle menu, and you had to go in here and then tap this in order to do it. So you'd get in the car, screen was lagging, you'd have to double tap to turn that off. Subaru, read about that, addressed that complaint. At least they put a dedicated button here to turn it on and off. But it still is irritating that you have to get in the car and turn it off every time. This is something that I wish this car didn't have. But I mean, it's easy enough to turn it on and off, and I'm not, not trying to really complain about it because it's just become part of the routine. But the auto start stop systems in these Subarus is just not well integrated into the vehicle, and I feel like this engine wasn't designed for a system like this. So those are my issues with this car, and if they all seem like little minor things, it's because they are. Overall, the vehicle is great. It drives well. It's great in the snow. We just had, an 8 to 10 inch March like wet snow here, like that concrete snow in Denver, and this thing just plows through it. Doesn't matter what kind of snow it is. Car's comfy. Does a lot of stuff for the money, but those are just some little quirks that I've noticed in driving it for 4,000 miles now that I wish they would kind of address. I'm sure a screen update is coming. I'm curious to see if the screen will look different, or if the software will be slightly different on the 2025 Forester. Not holding my breath, because Subaru kind of likes sometimes to wait and then you know, hold off on a technology and then put it in a vehicle as like a new feature. Like I know Subaru has a digital dashboard. They have one in Japan. They've had one for a couple years in Japan, and they just will not bring that to the USA. They still won't on the 2025 Forester, so I'm curious when they're actually going to do that. But that's just a very Subaru thing. It's like we have the tech, but we're going to hold off. When we refresh the Forester in 2027, we're going to then add the digital dashboard, and it'll be this new thing for everyone, when in reality we've had that technology now for 10 years. So that's just Subaru. It's the company, and they're good cars. So if you have any of your own annoyances with Subies, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And if you like this channel so far, please subscribe and like. And I appreciate everyone out there, and let's have a good week. Thank you.